Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. More than 13,000 Vermonters now have Alzheimer's disease or another form of dementia, and the number is growing as our population ages. Further, more than 26,000 Vermonters serve as unpaid caregivers to someone in cognitive decline. For Alzheimer's patients and their families, a diagnosis leads to questions and concerns. So today we're going to focus on Alzheimer's awareness and brain health. We've called on the Executive Director of the Alzheimer's Association of Vermont. Howard Goodrow joins us via Zoom. Howard and his organization are dedicated to Alzheimer's care, support, and research, knowing that at times the disease can leave people feeling helpless and hopeless. Howard, good afternoon, and thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Fran. It's great to be with you.
So to get started, tell us just a little bit about your background and how you came to the Alzheimer's Association of Vermont.
Sure. So I've been in the nonprofit world for about 22 years now, mostly in the cancer space. I started up here in Vermont. I'm from Woodstock, so I am a Vermonter. Not technically, because I wasn't born in Vermont, but moved down to Connecticut for a regional and national role in the cancer space. And my wife and I said, if we ever get a chance to go back to Vermont, we're going to do it as soon as the boys are out of school. So a week after my youngest graduated from high school, we were on the road moving back to Vermont for this position. So I've been in this role for about 2.5 years and couldn't be happier with the staff, the volunteers, and the community.
Oh, welcome back. You know, there's so much information out there about Alzheimer's disease, and there's also a lot of myths. So quickly, what is Alzheimer's disease and who is at risk?
We're all at risk. Unfortunately, that's our reality right now. Alzheimer's disease, so people get confused often about the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's. Dementia is the umbrella. So there are a lot of different dementias that fall under that umbrella, at least 8 to 10 to 12 different types of dementia. Alzheimer's is by far the largest in that category. 60 to 80% of all dementias are Alzheimer's. Basically, what dementia is as a disease is a brain altering, something that alters the brain's functions. The difference in Alzheimer's is that there are things called plaques and tangles. They're different proteins that basically attack or surround and embed the cells of the brain. That's kind of the one piece that's different in Alzheimer's versus all other dementias.
Okay, so just to clarify about the Alzheimer's Association, but of course is a national association, how is it structured and how does the Vermont chapter fit into that structure?
Sure. So the organization about 8 years ago went from a lot of different entities to one organization. We're based in Chicago. We're broken up into 2 areas and then 16 different regions. And then you break down even further to 70 different chapters. Most of those are state-based, like Vermont. We're part of the New England chapter. So some of our money goes to the national organization to fund things like research, which is not necessarily the most important thing, but it's the thing that people think about the most.
Sure.
So some of our funds go there, and then some of our funds go to our local programs and services, trainings for people who have dementia and Alzheimer's, trainings for people who are caregivers who need the support. We have 13 support groups in the state with 3 more coming online soon. And then we've got our advocacy work at the State House. We do a lot of work at the State House to make sure that Vermonters are getting the care that they need and getting the funds that they need to help support what they're going through. There are so many things right now that are not working correctly. They're not working in the best interest of those people with the disease or caregivers. so many people who are caregivers have to take time away from work, or they have to leave work and retire or take breaks. They come in late. They have to come in late for work because of doctor's appointments and things like that they have to deal with as a caregiver. And there's no financial support for those folks. You mentioned earlier there are 13,000 people living with Alzheimer's in the state. That's, I'm afraid to say, that is a very low estimate.
Mm.
New numbers will be coming out in the spring, but right now, a lot of people don't identify as having Alzheimer's that actually have it. There's still a stigma attached to the disease, unfortunately.
Right.
That's changing. And that's part of what we're trying to do. And part of why I'm here today is programs like this are things that get the word out there and make people a little more comfortable talking about this disease and how we fight it and how people deal with it, and any progress that we're making in the fight.
Great. So you're really supporting caregivers and people that might have it or do have Alzheimer's. It sounds like it's pretty structural. Can you tell us about recent updates about treatment or even early detection?
Yeah, so detection's an interesting thing. That one of the things that has been a problem with Alzheimer's over the years is that the only time you can tell someone had Alzheimer's is after death. That's no longer the case. There are ways to find out through spinal taps and PET imaging, that are very specific to Alzheimer's because they go back and look at those amyloid plaques and tangles that I spoke of earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the One of the things with Alzheimer's is that, you know, I'm sorry, I completely lost track of my thought there.
We're talking about early detection.
Yes.
And then we'll get to treatment in a second.
So sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the problems with early detection is the capacity with hospitals. The memory clinic at UVM, the memory clinic at Dartmouth, and like facilities across the country are so overwhelmed that the process for getting to diagnosis is a long one. And that goes directly to one of the issues that I'll kind of switch to now is the new treatment. About a year ago, there was a kind of controversial drug that was introduced called Aduhelm or aducanumab. That was something that was approved by the FDA, but did not get a lot of support from Medicaid, Medicare, and areas like that because it didn't seem to show enough progress in the reduction of the disease. About a month ago, the FDA, or 2 weeks ago, the FDA just approved kind of a follow-up drug to that that's in the same vein, which takes those plaques and tangles and starts to remove them. It's showing great progress. It's called lecanemab.
Exciting.
It is exciting. The reduction is, at least in trials, is about 26% in the progression of the disease. So in theory, that gives people more time to remember their family members, to continue to drive, to continue to manage their finances. But as I said, the problem is that you need to get that treatment early.
Right.
Early on in the disease. So if it takes a year to get diagnosed, you may have already fallen out of your window, which is unfortunate.
So quickly, we're starting to run out of time. Just Alzheimer's versus dementia. Just quick warning signs that you should really see your doctor and find out what's going on.
Sure. I mean, there are a number of warning signs. There are 10 technically warning signs.
That are on your website, by the way. It's very good.
They're on the website, but basically what you want to look for are things that interrupt your daily life. Memory issues that interrupt your daily life. Challenges in planning and solving problems. Difficulty completing familiar tasks that you've been doing your entire life. Confusion with time or place. trouble understanding visual images, or maybe sometimes you'll have hallucinations, depending on um, what type of dementia you have. Sadly, as I just stumbled over my words, problems with speaking and writing, misplacing things. We all do that, but if it becomes more consistent and you just can't ever retrace your steps, um, judgment issues become an issue. Grooming, things like that, and withdrawal from kind of your normal social activities is a big deal, and then changes in mood and personality. Those are kind of the ten big ones that we look at.
And we can look at our relatives and see if that seems to be happening too, and help out there. So what can viewers do to help in the fight against Alzheimer's disease?
As I mentioned earlier, so much of this is about awareness, and people being willing to talk about it. We need people who are willing to go to the state house and testify about things. You see, I'm glad you brought that picture up. That picture is at one of our walks to end Alzheimer's in Rutland County. This is 4 generations of people who have been impacted by the disease, all in one family. People can support us through, obviously, financial donations. That's a big one that goes to the research side of things and how we support our folks locally. The people can volunteer as support group volunteers, so they can lead support groups for us, both for early onset folks, for people living with the disease, and for caregivers.
Great.
So
Howard, we are
yeah,
out of time, so I want to make sure that people know how to get to your fantastic website.
Sure.
It's for the Alzheimer's Association. It's www.alz.org/Vermont, or you can call 800-272-3900. Howard, thank you so much, and good luck to your very important association.
Thank you, Fran. I really appreciate it.
And once again, thank you for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. Stay well.